while total value of all the transactions on the T-bill side is put at 217.24 billion naira. Now, grand total of both FGN bonds and the treasury bills came in at 869, and total value of all of that is 220.91 billion naira. Let's switch to the equities market, where the market also, the all-share index, the key benchmark index, also notched 1.31% this week, week to date, and that's the same thing as we had at the NASD unlisted securities markets. Market capitalization is at 12.785 trillion naira. Our total volume is 1.36 billion in total. That's what investors actually exchanged. Only the consumer goods index came in negative, and that is by 0.21%, as the index stands at 916.89 points. The banking sector and the oil and gas, as well as the industrial goods sectors, insurance, were the major movers of the market this week. So now let's quickly look at the earnings of OANDO. Embattled Indigenous Energy Group, OANDO PLC, has posted a 16% increase in turnover for the 9 months period ended September 2017. The 3 quarters cumulative results submitted to the Nigerian Stock Exchange midweek shows a 120% jump in post-tax profits to 7.1 billion naira compared to the 35.8 billion naira recorded for the same period. And joining us right now to quickly look at the issues surrounding this major company in the Nigerian market that once had its share price at 120 naira per share is the Chief Executive at Afrinvest Securities, Ayodeji Ebo. Thanks a great deal for joining us on Capital Market Live.
Thanks for having me
this time. Yeah. Right. Now, so let's look at the how does earnings, speak to the issues we have around OANDO, between OANDO and the regulators at the moment.
Yes. Looking at the 9 months results, you discover that some of the restructuring in terms of business decisions that have been taken in the past have begun to yield results. Looking at from a loss 9 months in 2016 to a profit position, so that sends positive signal to investors. But beyond that, part of what shapes investors' sentiment is also in terms of the corporate governance, in terms of consistency of the company, that's the quoted company, the floor. When you roll back, if you look at 2014, after a long delay in its result, published a loss of over 200 billion before that coming down to a loss of 30-something billion in 2015, and in 2016 picked up gradually. But when investors are still trying to recover from that shock, 2014, which is just like 3 years ago. Yeah. Now coming up to see some of the allegations, corporate governance allegations, that would refresh their memory in terms of how the company has been consistent in the past. You've seen for some years, even in the past, that OANDO was supposed to pay dividend and some restructuring to some subsidiaries. So some of those things have accumulated that is affecting investor sentiment. So beyond the technical suspension that we're currently seeing in the stock, but in terms of also perception is also key. That most times places a premium on the pricing of the stock of that company.
Okay, so let's look at how this technical suspension is impacting on the share price and investments of investors, shareholders, specifically at this point in time. I mean, it's static.
Yeah, basically, like you said, static. Technical suspension is the price will not move. Yeah. But because of, one, there's a positive news. On the other hand, when you look at some of the past issues, the case is still in court. Yeah. Do you want to take that bet to come in now? So most times when shares have some of these issues surround them, you really, in terms of taking this decision to invest. So for investors that have already invested and have their shares in this company, for them it's no longer liquid. So, because liquidity is also key to any investment. So
because
you
I know
have
some investors who actually bought at 19 naira, and now it's hovering between just 4. I think it's not even hovering any longer.
No, even if it goes below 4, if you still need to create liquidity, you can sell. But the situation now, it's not very liquid because of the technical suspension. Most rational investors may not want to take position now at the current level, given instance that at the point when the technical suspension will be lifted, a lot of people may want to sell and may not be interested in the stock again, depending on how they've now become consistent in terms of their results.
Right.
The 9 months result is still unaudited, and in terms of when you placing reliance, it's a management account. It's when it's audited that you place more reliance on that.
Okay, so let's also take a look at how this also impacts on the sector that they are listed on, this oil and gas sector.
Yes, OANDO is just, though it's divested most of its downstream business, when you look at that sector, we feel with the current uptick that we've seen in global oil prices, sends a positive sentiment to that sector. We've also seen in terms of disruption within the Niger Delta, at least have calmed down. Though, if it's true, there are some threats that they won't no longer honor the ceasefire agreement. But when you look at the overall, in terms of the sentiment, it may not rub off on the entire sector.
Okay,
we don't expect it to rub off
because of time, actually, I think we have 20 seconds to break. But do you think this will create a negative impact or implications for all of the plants that they have to pipe gas, for example, on the island and so many areas, so that companies that really want to rely on gas now will be able to make that possible?
Yes, it's really going to send a negative signal to any potential investor.
Right.
They would want to see the results from this, the allegations with the SEC, the corporate,
especially from the court again.
Especially from the court, until this judgment is given or there's a resolution. I don't think it may be very easy to attract investment.
You're still around, you're not going. We have a second segment. But Diamond Bank has divested its shares in 4 African countries. We'll find out what that means for the Nigerian lender after this break.